My name is Ed Chin, and but today we are not going to talk about too much about whether on July 1st, whether there will be an occupying event, but more so today's theme is on Sing for Democracy, and we have two special guests. One is Mrs. Ensign Chan, who will be speaking later today, and also Mr. Jimmy Lai, who is chairman of Apple Daily. But before that, I guess let me introduce the other speakers for today. The most dangerous man in town, Dr. Benny Tai, sitting next to me, and also Dr. Joseph Chang with True Alliance. So I guess a lot of people ask about what Occupy Central stands for, and I guess I will leave all these questions to Benny. But as I alluded to earlier, we will have an event tomorrow at around 6:30, right outside of the entertainment building. And in unity, hopefully with a few hundred people together with advanced technology, you will see around 10,000 people singing this song, led by Mrs. Ensign Chan and Mr. Jimmy Lai, and friends with Occupy Central, or people who don't believe in Occupy Central, doesn't matter. But in unity, we believe that everyone should vote on June 20th to 29th now, with the cyber attack that happened a few days ago. Now, we also have other supporters to this event. One of them is Mr. Lian, Joseph Lian. He is now residing in Japan, but do come over to Hong Kong quite occasionally. So as a supporter of democracy, he has a message for us, and I'm just going to read it out from the iPad. Dear friends, I am Lin Yuzhang, Joseph Lian, commentator with Hong Kong economic journal Sun Bo, and have also been a quiet one among any crowd fighting for democracy and social justice. Today, unfortunately, I cannot be with you in person, but I still would like to connect with you all and cheer you on with my meager voice. As you all know, Occupy Central with Love and Peace will be organizing a citywide poll to allow all the citizens of Hong Kong to voice their opinion on what form the proposed CE electoral reform will take. And you also know that the powers that be are bent on sabotaging the polling facilities, especially the online polling websites, in an effort to shut off the voice of the people. The sabotage must not be allowed to come to pass, so I urge all of you to put in your vote and to encourage your friends and relatives to put in theirs in spite of any difficulty that you might encounter. Thank you, thank you. 各位朋友，我係連月增信報評論員，一直以嚟都是爭取民主和社會公義運動的一個普通參與者。可惜今天未能親身和大家在一起，但還是希望能夠發出聲音，替大家打打氣。無論聲音如何微弱，大家知道和平佔中法要推出全民投票，讓大家可以就普選特首的政改取向表達意見。大家也知道有黑惡勢力瘋狂搞破壞，企圖癱瘓和平佔中的投票網站，以阻止大家發聲。我們絕對不能讓這種黑勢力得逞，所以我今天懇請大家，無論如何也要克服困難，在620至622這段時間自己投票，也鼓勵身邊的朋友或親人投票，讓民意彰顯。謝謝大家，認真。Well, this slide was taken on June 29th last year. Was there going to be an Occupy Central event? Of course not. And we have in the middle Mr. Jimmy Lai. Unfortunately, he cannot be here today, but he has a message he would like to share. So here we go.
People are now at the critical time of fighting for our democracy. Please come and join us to voice our desire for democracy and to voice your voice for justice. Please come to join us on the 20th, 6:30 to 7:30 in Central to sing Do You Hear the People Sing? We will sing together. We will let the world know how much Hong Kong people want democracy and how we are being persecuted by the Chinese government to suppress us in the fight for democracy. Please come to support us. Your support is the encouragement to us. Please come and join us. Friends of Hong Kong, as you know that we Hong Kong people are now at the critical time of fighting for our democracy. Please come and join us to voice our desire for democracy and to voice your voice for justice. Please come to join us on the 20th, 6:30 to 7:30 in Central to sing Do You Hear the People Sing? We will sing together. We will let the world know how much Hong Kong people want democracy and how we are being persecuted by the Chinese government to suppress us in the fight for democracy. Please come to support us. Your support is the encouragement to us. Please come and join us. Friends of Hong Kong, as you know that we Hong Kong people...
This is going to be an infinite loop. But anyways, let's sing this song called Do You Hear the People Sing? And there's a Cantonese version too, and this is something that we have been practicing for the last 5 weeks, and people from the finance and banking group maybe will lead us into this song. Why don't we try the English one first? It's Lai Chong here. That you should know, and everyone journalists here can join us. Do you hear the people sing? Sing the songs of angry men. It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Then join in the fight that will give you the right to be free. Do you hear the people sing? Sing the songs of angry men. It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you give all you can give so that our banner may advance? Some will fall and some will live. Will you stand up and take your chance? The blood of the martyrs was what matters, Hong Kong. Do you hear the people sing? Singing the songs of angry men. It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Okay, let's do the Cantonese one and then we'll go back to business. And this is business too. 試問誰還未發聲？都寫我企，誰為我成？天上有緣，還有心可作主，誰要認命咁聲？試問誰能未覺醒？傾真那自由在奏鳴，激氣在難違背的那份良知和應。為何美夢仍是個夢幻想，等人似泡影？為這黑與白，這非與是真愛帶來做證。為這世代有未來，要及時擦亮眼睛。試問誰還未發聲？都捨我企，誰為我成？ 天上有權，還有心可作主，誰要認命禁聲？試問誰還未覺醒？聽真那自由在奏鳴，激起在難違背的那份良知和應。無人有權沉默看着萬家燈火變了色，問我心再用我手去為選我命途力拼。人既是人，有責任有自由決定遠景。試問誰還未發聲？都寫樂旗，誰為我成？天上有權，還有心可作主，誰要認命禁聲？試問誰還未覺醒？聽真那自由在奏鳴，激起在難違背的那份良知和應。And we have some slogan. We are not going to shout it out. Otherwise, the general manager from FCC will charge me 2 times the membership fee next year. So better keep that low profile for now. But thank you, Edward, and thank you, Marshall. Now we represent the finance and banking sector who support Occupy Central. Back less than 2 months ago, we sent a letter actually to President Xi Jinping asking about the 10 requests that we have, asking for fair play, asking for true democracy. And for those journalists who have not been to our sharing session on April 23rd, we have prepared some pamphlets and also some leaflets for you, so you know what those 10 requests are. I guess without further ado, nothing much from the banking and finance sector for us to say, because we have our monthly meeting every month. So in Lankway Farm, actually, usually at my office, which I bought from FCC back 8 years ago and turned it into hedge fund incubation center, and also we meet monthly. But other than that, I guess I should pass this time to Dr. Benny Tai, who will explain about the hacking, whether there will be Occupy Central, and why he is very dangerous. Benny?
Okay, thank you, Ed. Well, I think since the time last year, I think early last year, that we started the Occupy Central movement. And actually at a very early stage, Ed has joining the movement as one of the 10 martyrs. Right? I think the word is not quite popular to call them martyrs. Then you're not going to die anyway, and I'm not going to die. To join the movement and support the movement, and since then Ed organized the group. It started to grow, and now we have more than 17 members in the group. As Jimmy has said, that the movement now has reached a critical point, as we are going to have the civil referendum starting from tomorrow. I think in the past few weeks, the Occupy Central movement has been under wave of attack. Firstly, by the government officials in the responsible education, telling teachers not to talk with their students about Occupy Central. And then we have business groups, business people coming out, talking about the economic cost of Occupy Central if the occupation actually happens. And then we have some senior officials, retired officials of Beijing, who have been involved in the Sino-British negotiation, also coming out to criticize Occupy Central. And the latest attack, as you may know, the cyber attack, and our system, the voting system, was paralyzed. And according to the IT experts, that they told me that this scale of attack is unprecedented in Hong Kong. And also, from what has been told by, I was told by the IT experts, that the attack cannot be just organized in these few days, because this kind of DDoS attack they use something so-called zombie computers. So what do you mean? I don't know, and just they told me that those computers in Hong Kong, there are at least 5,000 to 10,000 computers in Hong Kong that have been planted with virus by someone. We do not know who's behind it. I think there's reasonable suspicion that there must be someone that is very against universal suffrage, true universal suffrage in Hong Kong, organizing this. That as I was told that the zombie computers need some time to prepare. You have to plant virus in at least 5,000 to 10,000 computers in order to generate that scale of attack we are now facing. So that means that the whole thing is well planned. It may take a few months' time or even more to arrange this. And as I reflect on this, I find that what is happening in the virtual world is actually also happening in the real world. There are some zombies also. When someone pressed the button, also started to react and attacking us, just like the zombie computers. And I will not name those zombies, right? I think I will be subject to defamation action, so I will not further talk about this. But under such scale of attack, I think Hong Kong people will not be scared away by participating in this civil referendum. And also, I was told by Reverend Ju and also Cardinal Zen, they are now still walking. In the past few days, they are walking around Hong Kong, talk to Hong Kong people directly as they walk through the districts. People told them that, well, we are even more determined to come out to vote. Even though we are subject to such kind of attack, no matter in the virtual world or in the real world, we are determined to express our view that we really want universal suffrage. As Jimmy has said, we have that determination. We want to have universal suffrage. And we could not be silenced by this kind of attack. Hong Kong people will come out, will walk as spoken, walk, and tomorrow we'll sing, led by Ensign. I haven't heard you sing before, but maybe this time I have a chance to hear you sing. And also vote. Now, because of this cyber attack, that now we have Dr. Cheung of the Hong Kong UPOP responsible for running the whole voting arrangement and the civil referendum. Yesterday has announced our contingency plan. Now, we will extend the voting period to next Sunday. So in addition to Sunday, this Sunday, that's the 22nd, we have the polling stations. The online system will continue to run. And actually, we have been assured by one of the service providers that they will upgrade all their measures to counter the attack, the cyber attack. And they have confidence that they will be able to withstand the same scale of attack this time. And now also, we have also other service providers very keen to offer service to us, saying that in case that the current service provider cannot handle the attack, they will come in to help us. And so everyone is willing to help. But to prepare for that, we think that it's better to have an arrangement. So we will have polling stations also for on 29 June, that is next Sunday. And we may even have more polling stations than we have now. And we are working hard on this. And so let Hong Kong people don't be scared by this kind of attack in the real world or in the virtual world. Use our sweat and use our footsteps to come out to show to those who do not want us to have universal suffrage that we really want universal suffrage. And that is our dream. That is our Hong Kong democratic dream that we have dreamed for so many years. And now is the time. It's now the time for us to show to the world that that is what we want. Thank you.
Well, I guess back 2 years ago, no one knows any time. But 30, 40 years ago, I should say, age is the secret of women. I should say that a few years ago, and maybe not too long time ago, a lot of people know Mrs. Jen, and she has been a hero to me, and also and thank you for what you have done to Hong Kong. And she is the most qualified person to lead us in singing a song to hear people sing tomorrow. And I would like to ask Anson to say a few words, if you may. Thank you.
I'm here this afternoon because I support the call for people to participate in the territory-wide voting or referendum that will take place between the 20th and the 29th of June. But I'd like first of all to say how much I admire Edward Chin and his colleagues in the banking and financial sector for their courage in standing up for their convictions, for their fight for genuine democracy, for truth and justice. Very few in the business sector, particularly in our financial sector, are prepared to do this. And I hope that they will set a good example for others to follow. Because if we ever had any illusion about whether one country, two systems remain healthy and intact, I think the white paper should remove all our illusions. It is a naked attempt to rewrite the basic law, to redraw the boundaries of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people enjoying a high degree of autonomy, and Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong. We've also seen the unprecedented massive cyber attacks that have been mounted against the trial run of the electronic voting system and also against the next media organization. If Beijing is not worried about the referendum, why go to this length? I think in the face of all these intimidatory attacks, pressure, and quite frankly, downright blackmail, Hong Kong people really cannot remain silent, and I am sure that we will not remain silent. I urge all Hong Kong people to turn up to vote between 20th to the 29th of June, so that united and collectively we can send a very, very strong message to Beijing. And that message is, we ask Beijing to honor its promise to the people of Hong Kong to deliver genuine universal suffrage. We want a set of election proposals that encourages competition, that provides choice, not a system that contains a screening mechanism so that 2 or 3 anointed candidates are put to the people for so-called one man, one vote. I ask people to remember, there is no point in having one man, one vote if all we are given to vote from are 3 puppets. That is not genuine one man, one vote. I'm sure that Hong Kong people will have the courage to speak up, and we need to speak up to get our message across. So please, turn up and vote, because the larger the turnout, the clearer the message will be to Beijing. I also, this year is the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Joint Declaration. And the 2 signatory parties are China and Great Britain. I ask Great Britain not to walk away from their commitments to the people of Hong Kong. They are a signatory to the Joint Declaration, which is an international treaty. And they have both a legal and a moral obligation to the people and to the world at large to defend the autonomy, the rights and freedoms and the rule of law that are protected and enshrined in both the Joint Declaration and the Basic Law. Of course, we all welcome a growing relationship between China and Britain, but Hong Kong's interests cannot be sacrificed. in this process. Thank you.
So Benny, we have two of the three, not candidates, but categories, right? Category 1 and 3. Dr. Joseph Chang is going to talk about say a few words.
Dear friends, I just want to make a short appeal. If we care about Hong Kong, if you want our future chief executive to be truly accountable to the people, if you want to uphold our core values and to continue to live the way we like to live, then we cannot afford not to come out and vote in the civic referendum which will begin tomorrow. The choice before us is clear: to be a citizen or to be a subject. A citizen is one who can hold his head high, who can enjoy his dignity and his basic rights as a human being. A subject is one who may or may not enjoy stability and prosperity, but whose right is always defined by the limits of tolerance of the authorities. The choice between the Chinese authorities is also clear. Chinese leaders have to decide whether they are going to give Hong Kong people a genuine democratic electoral system through which we can exercise real choices. If this is denied, it will be a rather sad scenario for all parties concerned. The government of Hong Kong will not be seen as legitimate by the people of Hong Kong, and as a result, it will not be able to govern effectively. Chinese leaders have to think hard that if they deny democracy to Hong Kong people, their Taiwan policy will also bankrupt. It will not have any attraction or credibility in the eyes of the people of Taiwan. If we want to be true citizens, we must speak out and send a very loud and clear message to Beijing and to the entire world. Thank you very much.
Okay, may I also call upon Joshua Wong from Scholarism to say a few words.
I'm the convener of Scholarism, and Scholarism is an organization which mobilizes student movement. All of the members and volunteers are secondary school or university students. 2 years ago, we have organized the campaign on anti-nationalization and occupying the government headquarters. Nowadays, we try to involve in the political reform and to fight for the civil nomination. Today, I would like to invite Hong Kong citizens, especially students, to participate in the event of tomorrow. Come to join the assembly in Central to sing the Do You Hear People Sing and to vote if you are above 18. Try to vote and to show your opinion and your persistence on the democracy. Compared to other countries, actually, it's not common to having some of the student organizations which directly involved in the political reform. However, after I think the white paper is being established by the CCP, I think more of the students and the youth should try to show their care and love to their city, and we hope to get a better future. Someone may ask me about the political situation of Hong Kong. I would just use one example to explain what I have faced. What I have known is the president of student union in the university, the vote they get still more than the vote get by CY Leung, our CE. This is the things that what students see in Hong Kong. So we hope more of the students, no matter they are secondary school or university student, try to get a better future for themselves. Vote on 22 of June. Thank you.
Doing this is harder than talking about how to do a global long, short, or mechanical trading system. So I guess maybe it's a Q&A now, Benny. Open to the floor. Should I just pass one microphone down? Since it's so.
Florence from Le Monde. What would be a reasonable number for you to be happy, and how would you rate your success? I've seen numbers already, but I just want to know an update on this. I saw 100,000, and I've also seen that some people would actually resign and consider it a failure under a certain number. So if you could comment on your expectations.
Well, I think it depends very much on the electronic system, whether it works tomorrow. Now, if it does not work, that means that people can only vote by coming out to the polling stations on Sunday. And there's limitation on the capacity for the polling stations. Now, we're still working on whether we could add more polling stations on the 29th. And, but even if we could, now, if people may just use 30 seconds to 2 minutes to vote on an electronic system using this mobile phone or go to the website, 2 minutes, okay, at most. But if you go to a polling station, excluding the traveling time, you may have to wait there for 2 hours if there are long queue there. So I think that may deter some people voting. 2 minutes, maybe a cost they are willing to pay for democracy. 2 hours added the travel time, it may be a bit too expensive for some of them. So I don't know the figures. Surely that we hope that people's the desire, as Jimmy said, the desire for democracy of Hong Kong people is strong enough that even 2 hours they are willing to wait there and wait for their turn to vote. Now, but even at the end, we could get only 100,000. I think the quality of those votes will be quite different from the votes you get from the online system. So I just, it's difficult to make any kind of reference at what was the number, but I still expect at least 100,000, hoping for 200, maybe 300, and some told me that they are expecting 1 million, but I think it's a bit dreaming. You're 1 million people, but if we have that 1 million, whoa, the Hong Kong dream is there.
I guess Hong Kong people are very indifferent and kind of muted, and I call it political low pressure. Like especially in the last 2 years, I've been back for almost 14 years now, and then the last 2 years has never been worse of me relocating back to Asia. But I hope, like our team, the finance and banking sector, and if the Anson is free in the next few days, instead of sweating like Reverend Chu and Cardinal saying, we will sing in the 18th district, and hopefully we can touch more people come out and vote, because singing is easy. There's a common language, and then if Benny is free and Joseph is free, and we'll all sing for democracy. So it's a very simple song and can touch everyone.
I've been asked by quite a few of my friends about the actual voting arrangements and who is qualified and who is not. So could you clarify 2 points? First, do you have to be a registered voter to take part in the referendum? That's the first question. The second question, you know that there are some people who have views about Occupy Central and who do not necessarily support Occupy Central. And one of the questions that has been put to me is, if they turn out and vote, does that mean that they support Occupy Central? So could you clarify these 2 points?
Eligible voters can vote, but not need to be registered voters, because actually we cannot check whether you're registered. If you're above 18, and especially if you go to the polling station, you have to show your ID card and then fill in the personal details. Then our worker there will be able to ensure that you are above 18 and also with the Hong Kong PR status. Now that's the eligible voter, but not need to be registered voter. Now for participating in the voting, you are not supporting or directly supporting Occupy Central, but you may be showing your agreement at least with the objectives of Occupy Central. Now Occupy Central includes many things. We have our goal, striving for democracy that can satisfy universal suffrage, that can satisfy international standard. And the means we use are lawful, like deliberation, civil referendum, but maybe if it's required, Civil Disobedience Act, Occupying Central. So the voting may show that you support the use of civil referendum as a way to get democracy, but not necessarily means that you also support the civil disobedience following. And I've told people many times that actually I'm against Occupy Central, meaning that I do not want to have the actual occupying act to happen. If we could generate sufficient political pressure through the civil referendum, hopefully, no one needs to occupy the streets of Central, and no need to resort to civil disobedience. That is my hope.
And to us, our group always talk about OC, and we think we have been occupying it for the last 15, 20 years. We work in Central, but then no matter what, I think they can just mobilize you and grab you off the streets easily in 6 hours. But that's the last thing, and would be anti-climax after that. Any other questions?
Thank you. Do you think there is an issue with confidentiality? Would people, I mean, are you able to give some kind of guarantee that people who will vote will be safe from any fines which could compromise their business in China or things like that?
Well, I think the personal data, if you vote online, all the personal information you input will be encrypted. And now, even though we are under cyber attack, but the kind of attack is just jamming the system so that you have no accessibility to the system. The system has not been intruded into, so no way that they can get the personal data already in the system, or they can get in the system to get the personal data. And even if that, there will be just some kind of codes that no one can understand. No, your personal information cannot be encrypted by that, and we are told by the IBA experts. Now, if you go to the polling station, now your personal identity may be identified, because when you're waiting to get in the polling station, you have a long queue there. There may be some media people there taking your photo, but then it is not our problem. It's that you come and you have to take that risk. But then the information you give us as when you vote, again, it will be encrypted and will be protected, and we have to apply the privacy law in Hong Kong. All the personal information would have to be subject to the very stringent requirements on maintaining the security.
From the New York Times. How are you going to let everybody know where the polling stations are? Obviously, Hong Kong's a pretty big city. There's only 10 polling stations. You want to mobilize people to get out to vote. If they're not doing it electronically, a lot of people aren't familiar with using an app on a cell phone, even in Hong Kong. And so how are you going to ensure you get the maximum turnout on Sunday?
Well, the electronic voting will start tomorrow. Actually, we have been distributed leaflets in the past few weeks, and also we have many civil society organizations and also political parties. They will set up street stores, booths all over Hong Kong. And Scholasm, how many street stores you're going to have? 50? 100? So we have actually many street stores or booths set up all over Hong Kong to tell people about the arrangements of the voting. And the polling stations, all the information, you can see it on the website, but we will also put up double-page ads on newspapers so that people can know the exact location of the polling station. So I think we'll use the social media also a lot and sharing the information. So that's the way I think information now, like the city in Hong Kong, I think it's not too difficult to get hold of those information.
From Bloomberg, regarding the number of people voting, is there going to be any sort of independent authority watching the polls, counting the people, or are we just going to be relying on you, the organizer, to tell us how many people vote?
We are actually relying on the professional service of the HKU POP. And the Hong Kong U Public Opinion Project has no political sense. It is just an organization running a polling system. So they have independence and in all the work of the arranging the civil referendum. And this time round, we do not have independent or international observers to observe the whole whole process. I think maybe that is something we can consider, because it's likely that there may be a second round of civil referendum when the government put forward its own proposal, and then we may organize a second referendum. And we may even considering that the second referendum should not be sponsored by Occupy Central movement. And we are thinking that whether that should be a more detached body to run this second referendum. And I think that the having international or and independent observers, we may be able to arrange that in the second round.
And when do you think that will take place? When do you think that will be?
It depends on when the government will put forward its own proposal. Likely maybe at the end of this year that the government will have a proposal. And it may need some time to arrange the second referendum. Maybe a few months later after that, we may have a second referendum. So we still have time. I think this time round, we get a more experience of organizing this scale of civil referendum, gaining more experience. So hoping that in the next round, when we organize it, things will be, at least the electronic system will be much more of a protection against cyber attack. And also we may be able to have more polling stations to be more convenient for people to go to vote. For those who are not so familiar with the online system.
The Alliance for True Democracy has been trying to help. Starting from tomorrow, we shall have several dozens of street stations organized by our constituent political parties and groups, offering information on the polling and guiding people to the actual polling stations, as well as to the use of the electronic voting system. We have already conducted an opinion survey to ascertain the views of the silent majority or the broad public who may not take part in the voting process. And we are asking open questions like, what formula, what proposals have you heard? So it's completely open. And and we also ask which proposal would you support most? Even if someone says, I support DAB's proposal, we shall gladly take note of that and report this to the community. While we also ask the question of which of the three proposals the respondents like or support, we also offer an extra option. That is to say, a respondent may indicate that he or she does not support any of the three. So we try to offer an accurate picture of public opinion parallel to the results of the civic referendum. In fact, we have got the results already, but we are not going to publish it until the civic referendum has been completed.
Thank you. A second question from the New York Times. Quite apart from the referendum, I'm wondering what your assessment is about the general level of support of Occupy Central, especially in the wake of the white paper from Beijing. On the one hand, there does seem to be a lot of criticism of the white paper. On the other hand, people may be thinking more about the repercussions of increasing confrontation with Beijing. So particularly now, over the past few days, I'm wondering whether you have any assessment about what the drift of opinion in Hong Kong is. Thank you.
Well, I think in the past months, there have been several opinion polls held by some media, newspaper media in Hong Kong, that the result that Occupy Central received about 25% support and more than 50% against. So that's the kind of proportion of support we got continuously for the past 12 months or even more. And even under various serious attacks, we are able to maintain that 25% support for the Occupy Central movement. Now, we haven't got any new data at this stage, especially after the white paper and also after the hacking. So I just cannot be sure whether the figures will go up or go down. But opinion polls, sometimes they give you certain information, but I think the civil referendum provides us another kind of information. Polls give you the opinion poll give you a kind of selected, randomly selected sample of the community. Now, if you receive a phone call and then ask you, do you support Occupy Central, the kind of response you will give will be quite different that you come out and use some time to vote and even go to the polling station in 2 hours. So as I've already mentioned, this is a very different quality of your view. It is much more, I don't know, heavier weight, maybe you may say. So even though we may not get a huge number, a million, but if we have 10,000 people there who are willing to use the time which should be used to watch the World Cup, but then now coming out to vote, and that means that the weight of the vote will be much heavier. And how many of them are prepared to go even further by joining the final Civil Disobedience Act? So I think the percentage of support in general in the community is one thing. How many people will come out at the end to join the civil disobedience action will be another thing. And from the experience of other parts of the world, civil disobedience always will not be the majority of the community. If the civil disobedience, they are the majority of the community, actually there's no need to go for civil disobedience because they have already changed the system. So in all parts of the world, civil disobedience acts, minority, if we could have a substantial minority, the bigger would be the impact. And also I think what we're aiming at, maybe the sympathy of the majority of Hong Kong people. And I think the white paper, the hacking and all these attacks, we may be able to get more sympathy. So if you ask the question depending on how you frame the question. If I ask you, do you support Occupy Central? Maybe half, 50% say, I would not support Occupy Central. But if you ask, are you sympathetic with this group of people? Or do you think really Benny Tai is a really dangerous person? I think you may have a very different answer from that. So I think I am not really answering the question directly, but I'm just providing another angle to look at the matter. It's not just about the percentage of support shown by opinion poll, but the actual number of people who are willing to sacrifice their time to come out to vote, and also how the majority of people seeing it is not just for and against. That might be something in between. And from experience that in other countries and other places where you have the civil disobedience movement, people's sentiment change from sympathetic to support when the actual action happens, especially if violence has been, or disproportionate violence has been inflicted upon the civil disobedience. Then the sentiment of the community will change.
And I really want the foreign journalistic community to get the word out, because the Chinese media has not been too kind to Dr. Benny Tai, honestly. That this man is like a terrorist of sorts, but it's not true. I mean, our group has done a long due diligence on Benny. We have worked with him for like almost a year and a half now, and we've got people who are in hedge funds and formerly from stock exchanges here, and he is very mild, I have to say. But now, with that said, let me just remind the journalistic community, we also have a tram ride after the song singing at 7:30, and led by Anson as well, for a short ride, and then the scholarism people will join in later. So if anyone of you want to hop on the tram, please sign up with our group as well. So any other questions? Joseph?
With regard to the level of support for the Occupy Central campaign, I would like to indicate the position of the Alliance for True Democracy. Our position is that if the political reform proposal released by the Hong Kong government is judged to be falling below the basic demand of Hong Kong people for a system which allows genuine choices, real competition, then the Alliance, representing 26 pro-democracy legislators, will appeal to the community to support the Occupy Central campaign. They will also veto the proposal proposed by the Hong Kong government. The legislators of the Alliance do represent at least 54–55% of the voters in the last direction to the legislature. And even if the Hong Kong government can manage to push through the proposal through FLEGCO, we shall consider organizing a campaign to appeal to Hong Kong people to cast blank votes in its chief executive election to be held in 2017.
Hi, I'm Fiona from the right hand. So, Benny, with what you said regarding the second round of referendum, so does that mean the actual Occupy Central will only happen after the potential second round of referendum? Can you comment on that?
Now, the plan now we have is that when the government releases the government's proposal, and if that proposal can satisfy international standard. Now, if the proposal cannot satisfy the standard as Joseph mentioned, then that may be Occupy Central. But if no second referendum, but directly Occupy Central. But if that can satisfy international standard, but not the proposal we put forward, or the one that get the majority support in the first referendum that we are now organizing, Maybe it's the True Alliance proposal, it may be the Scholarship proposal. Then we may, in the second referendum, we will have both proposals, a 622 proposal and the government proposal, put to Hong Kong people in the second referendum and let Hong Kong people to choose. If Hong Kong people support the government's proposal, okay? Now because they can satisfy international standards, Occupy Central has achieved its goal, so we will call off Occupy Central. Now, but if Hong Kong people still insist to have a CE electoral proposal of election method, that must have civic nomination, as in the Scholars proposal or the True Alliance proposal. We will put forward to the government again after 2 rounds of civic referendum. That clearly shows the clear view of Hong Kong people. You must seriously consider whether you should change your proposal to be the one that got the support from Hong Kong people. Now, if not, then you occupy Central. So that's the plan we have now. But I believe that this plan may have more room for discussion in the coming months. But I need to be given very strong reason to deviate from this plan. So unless there's very strong reason against that, that would think we'll go ahead. And as I mentioned in responding to the gentleman's question, that maybe we will have some other body for organize the second referendum. Because Occupy Central at that time will be the sponsor of a particular proposal. And the government proposal, and so it may not be too appropriate for us to organize second civil referendum. So, but I think the thing we'll work that out, details later. And we are now more concerned with getting more votes out for the first civil referendum and getting the proposal we will sponsor.
So definitely no OC on July 1st, right, Penny?
Oh, yes, that's right. I think we have to re-emphasize this point that it has been reported that I have said that Occupy Central on 1st of July, but that was, the statement was made I think at least 12 months ago. At that time, because my prediction that 1st of July will be around the time that the government will put forward its proposal. So it will be around that time that we may decide whether there will be Occupy Central. But then the government delayed the whole process, and the consultation started very late, and so just in early May. And unlikely the government will have a report on the consultation before 1st of July. And so the formal process of constitutional reform has not yet started. So it will be against the spirit of civil disobedience, which the Occupy Central relies so much upon, to start the Civil Disobedience Act before all legal measures are exhausted. So it will be totally inappropriate for us to start the Civil Disobedience Act on 1st of July because legal means have not been exhausted. So likely that we will have that. I say hopefully we do not need to, but in case we need to, it will be something maybe early next year or maybe even around the time this year.
Okay, so everyone
next year, I mean.
Everyone can go on holidays on July 2nd?
I'm deeply in need of a long vacation myself. I hope that I can.
Okay. How about Joshua's group and also the university students? Are they doing anything on July 1st? It was rumored.
I think I'll have to talk with the students about this more, because I think we are working because of the hacking. Actually, it did affect our plan very much, because we hope that we can get the result on the 22nd, and then we still have a week's time to talk about all the arrangements on 1st of July. But now the voting ends on 29th. Actually, we don't have much time. Actually, I don't think we can even complete the counting of the votes before 1st of July. So the things change a lot because of the hacking. I don't know I should give thanks to those who hacked our system or not, but surely our plan has to be changed because of that. So we will have to talk with the students about their possible actions, and also what happened tomorrow may be also important at outside as a council.
But please join us in the singing tomorrow at 6:30, and also I only booked the room till 6 o'clock. Otherwise, they would charge us more. So if you want to do individual interview with Anson and Benny, please do so, or with Joseph and Joshua. So we are here to serve you. So here we go. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
呢個問題你要問下 H 你答啊！你有冇申請過啊？你個活動攞咪啊！你要邊個唱歌嗰個
邊個單位整啊？Cable TV， 我哋普通人行埋一齊唱首歌嘅，可能得 Benny 自己一個，同佢咯，Benny。我哋有個 technology 嚟整咗兩個咁要賣下啲關子啦，加埋咁多個禮拜加。唔會啊，即係普通人啱啱行過蘭桂坊所以佢睇世界盃會唱首歌先唱2分鐘咁和平理性啦。其實我哋都做咗幾個禮拜啦，喺香港唔同嘅地方，喺尖沙咀，喺Causeway Bay， 咁我覺得只有呢啲咁嘅咁簡單嘅 message 俾香港嘅市民咧，先至可以 mobilize 到更加多人感動出嚟嗰啲感變。咁係好多氣力汗水啦。咁我諗好似大生都曾經講過話，可能比國教要出嘅汗水多10倍。真係今次真係唔係講笑，個個都收晒，trail walking 又好，或者係symphony walks。其實個人數多與少唔係緊要，因為我覺得係好感動嘅。譬如陳太好後生25歲啫。咁但係要佢咁老嘅人家，即係都要出嚟去撐呢樣嘢，我哋都好感動。咁點解書記要咁做咧？或者係朱明要咁做咧？或者Martin我覺得冇理由要啲其實個個都70歲以上，或者係最後生嗰大班婦人咁好感激。幫香港做咗咁多。
教授想問翻咧，其實咧頭先你就話，即係依家又有再即係一啲嘅 service provider 去承諾話，即係如果有任何問題會即係都會幫手咁樣。其實你有幾大信心，即係嗰個電子投票咧係真係可以展開到，同埋而家喺手上有啲咩籌碼喺手，係覺得係即係都可以鬥得過啲黑客咁樣。
呢點咧其實最好中國先答你啦，我今日喺度啦。咁我嘅信心係來自佢嘅信心嘅啫嚇，即係佢話俾我知掂，我話俾你知掂咯嚇。咁佢話俾我知有個好勁嘅 service provider 咧係將有可能會若果現在嘅 service provider 應付唔到，但係其實現在嘅 service provider 咧 Cloudflare 咧其實喺呢個 field 裏邊都係咧係其中一個最 top 嘅公司嚟㗎，一間美國公司。咁我被告知咧就係咧。Cloudflare 嘅同事咧，即係參與緊整個工作嘅咧，佢係會提升佢哋嗰個整個嘅即係措施，包括係可能加入新嘅 server 咧，係應對咧將會好大可能會出現嘅網絡攻擊。咁照我所被告知啦就係佢哋嘅 morale 係非常高漲，話一定要打贏呢場網絡戰嘅咁樣。咁如果 Cloudflare 唔掂咧，咁佢哋都有計劃地咧係會將整個系統咧就轉移俾一個咧可能係比 Cloudflare 可能係聲名更大嘅一個嘅 service provider。即係總之咧一講出嚟就知係國際知名㗎啦。咁咧就去頂，即係去 即係去應付呢場嘅網絡戰啊咁樣。咁所以我哋被告知就係咧應該得嘅，個系統就算有攻擊都好咧，佢都唔會冧嘅，最多係可能咧係嗰個慢咗嘅啫。咁呢個就係我哋現在所掌握嘅資料啦。咁我諗呢點咧就詳細情況咧就我都唔係適合講好多，都應該係揾翻阿鐘博士講咧會適合啲。
大家就想問問，而家實體票站嗰度咧，你哋而家係咪有啲即係有新安排，又或者有冇話會即係加入有幾多咧？即係實體票站嗰度，同埋想問翻咧，即係你頭先係咪講到一樣嘢，就係話即係如果聽日有真係有一個即係黑客嘅攻擊嘅時候咧，你預計大約係有幾多人可能未必投到票？可唔可以即係嗰度講清楚少少？
我諗我講唔到啦，即係嗰個數字，即係視乎佢嗰個被攻擊大，咁你可能就係0啦，因為就係完全冧啦，但係可能係緩慢咗，即係慢咗嗰個時間，咁係慢幾多？我諗我哋完全講唔到嘅真係。咁所以聽日開12點一開，我哋睇到啦，即係個系統會唔會受攻擊啦？咁至於你話嗰個實體票站嗰度咧，暫時按 Dr. Chung 已經宣布咗個計劃咧，就係會喺29號咧。我哋會用翻原先嘅喺22號嗰15個票站，但係因為有部分嘅票站咧就借唔到出嚟，因為即係唔係話咩政治原因，純粹係已經29號嗰日已經預咗俾其他人用，咁所以咧就只係可以有10到11個票站咧係可以用得翻，咁即係話29號嘅容量咧就係細過22號嘅容量嘅，如果只係用翻原先嘅票站，咁所以為咗去補足，即係嗰個即係令到可以盡量做得翻22號嗰個實體票站嘅容量咧，咁我哋仲喺度揾緊票站，即係話增加嗰個票站嘅數目啊，總體嘅容量係點樣樣？咁但係我諗而家咧就講唔到住，因為啲同事喺度努力喺度做緊嘢。聯絡緊好多唔同嘅團體，能唔能夠揾到嗰個一啲嘅額外嘅票站？不過我就可以有個信息就係咧，好多團體咧係好熱心嘅話俾我哋知，我哋嗰個地方係可以俾你用票站嘅。咁呢個我哋咧，如果要揾咧，應該唔難揾㗎啦，將會問題只係咧需唔需要嘅啫。咁我諗我哋咧就應該聽日投票系統開始咗之後，我哋睇一睇個情況，咁然後阿鐘博士會有正式宣佈嘅。
咁想問一問教授，第一條問題咧就係有人話即係延長咗嗰個投票嘅時段會個質疑嗰個認受性啦，同埋第二條問題就係擔唔擔心嗰個投票人數低咗，嗰個所謂俾政府或者俾中央嘅壓力咧就冇想像中咁大。
嗱，投票人數低咗一定係啦，咁但係我頭先都解咗就係，若果係電子系統係癱瘓咗嘅話，而最後嘅所有人都要係走出嚟投票，流好多汗，用咗好多時間咧，每一票嗰個份量就會重好多㗎啦。咁我諗咧，我哋要睇個數字咧，就唔係淨係睇一票咁樣睇，仲要睇埋每票嘅份量嚟去計啦。至於第一條問題，會唔會係話即係嗰個認受性咧？嗱，我覺得又未必要咁樣睇嘅，即係我唔投。你無論幾長投票時間，好多人出嚟投㗎啦，係嘛？我拉到今年年底投，如果係得30萬人投，就得30萬人投㗎啦，唔會因為你長咗我根本唔想出嚟投無端端行開不如入去投一票啦，咁唔會㗎嘛。即係你真係有心去投，你就會投。咁我哋而家長咗時間，主要係令到我哋嗰個原先嘅容量可以維持翻，因為估計會受到攻擊。就算唔冧都好，都被拖慢咧，係希望可以回復得翻原先嗰個安排嗰個容量啫，即係純粹係為嗰個原因啫，就唔係話特別要去即係所謂攞多啲票，都話有票就俾你就有票㗎啦，你做咩都好，佢唔想投佢就唔投㗎啦。咁所以我又見唔到會點樣影響嗰個認受性。咁有可能嘅，因為投票時間長咗。會唔會一啲突發事件嘅出現，令到嗰個投票嘅人嘅意向或者投票嘅意欲 會強咗咧。譬如舉例，之鋒唔知點解有人咧就搏佢一錘咁樣啦，咁啊結果咧就可能好多人咧就會走去投學界方案咁樣，可能會有咁嘅情況都唔定，咁啊影響咗投票意向嚇。咁但係我相信喺香港應該唔會發生類似台灣總統事件嘅嚇咁樣，咁呢個我覺得機會率好低嚇。
都想問一問咧，而家各界咧，即係法律界咧，唔同嘅會咧，譬如可能大律師公會啊等等，都會對白皮書有好大嘅分歧。你可唔可以有一個回應咧？點解會出現呢樣嘢？
我諗喺法律界對於白皮書嘅詮釋咧，就其實同香港社會都一樣嘅啫。都係有唔同嘅詮釋啦，即係大家對白皮書嘅理解係有唔同。咁我諗最重要，大家講道理咯，同埋都係每個人都有佢嘅自由，包括咗即係會長都有佢嘅自由講佢嘅意見。咁亦都有律師會嘅會員亦都有自由及權利係要去彈劾佢，呢個都係按翻即係律師會自己本身嘅規則。咁而家大家經過討論之後，然後覺得律師會會長係咪講得啱，定係話其他嘅會員所認為個方向係啱啲咧？經過討論之後有投票有決定。咁我諗呢個都係一個法治之下多元社會裏邊對於某一件事有唔同睇法嘅即係正常現象嚟嘅。我唔會覺得一個好大嘅問題。即係話咧，我哋可以有更清楚嘅討論，就係究竟香港人想要嘅一國兩制係咪白皮書所講嘅嗰種一國兩制啫？好，唔該晒。
想問翻少少就係頭先咧有聽講話林朗彥咧就好似係俾警方係咪拘捕咗你？想問你知唔知呢個消息咧？
學民思潮嘅成員前成員啦，林朗彥咧，佢確實係喺今日下晝嘅時間咧，係曾經係因為警察嘅 request 咧，咁就係入咗去差館嘅。咁但係到底入咗去差館裏邊係進行一個拘捕啊、盤問啦，要去搜集一啲嘅證據定係點樣咧？咁相關嘅事情其實我自己本人就未必好清楚。咁但係而家已經知道就係林朗彥佢已經係離開咗警署。咁各位傳媒朋友有關細節，我估問翻佢本人會清楚啲，因為我諗喺較早前1-2個鐘，我哋學民思潮嘅同學打俾佢嘅時候，咁都佢電話係完全唔通啦。咁都好見到一個好明顯嘅事實，就係話喺東北嘅集會再嚟之前，警方係有意再去向一啲嘅示威者施壓。咁呢一個嘅動機係非常之明顯嘅。
咁都想問翻，聽日學民思潮喺嗰個唱歌嗰個會有啲乜嘢嘅行動，或者係咪有啲街站？
我諗我哋學民思潮由今日開始，其實已經喺全港即係唔同嘅地區嗰度去集中宣傳啦。咁我哋集中都係去翻啲可能係民主派傳統嘅地區啦，例如可能今日就特登去翻可能係屯門啦，或者聽日就可能會去翻東區太古城呢一啲民主派嘅票倉嗰度。咁希望就係接觸更多地區裏邊嘅人士。咁同時我哋聽日都會參加呢一個嘅即係中環大合唱嘅活動啦。咁同埋我自己都會係參加嗰個電車巡遊嘅活動。咁但係我諗無論如何，其實今次出嚟投票，除咗我本人係會呼籲更多市民係支持3號學界方案，因為呢一個係一個企硬公民提名必不可少嘅方案。我覺得更加重要就係話呢一個係一個對白皮書嘅抗議。到底我哋見到白皮書嚟到嘅時候，我哋係選擇盲從附和咁去認命，定我哋選擇去公投抗命？公投抗命嘅意思就係話喺公民抗命之先，我哋首先透過公投我哋嘅選票去抗拒中央由上而下嘅打壓同埋命令。我覺得呢一樣嘢係更加重要。喺公民抗命之先，首先公投抗命，用我哋嘅選票向白皮書説不。
想問你點樣睇咧？最近有好多嘅黑客去入侵，可能一啲傳媒啊，或者係6.2投票嘅嗰個 Apps 咧。
我哋會見到就係話，可能喺白皮書公佈之後咧，你都會見到就係話，可能唔同嘅官員嚟到香港啦，例如陳佐洱聽日會嚟到香港去發表言論去解讀白皮書，以至到就係話同一時間你會見到就係話個黑客入侵嘅情況越嚟越嚴重。我諗其實呢樣嘢反映到就係話，唔單止國外嘅海外傳媒係非常之關注呢一個全民公投， 更加多嘅係一啲可能內地嘅學者、政府嘅機關，根本可能係習近平、中文海都係非常之關注今次嘅投票，咁更加顯出香港人嘅呢一票唔係淨係立法會每4年一次嘅選票咁簡單，因為呢一票係受到呢個中央嘅高度關注。咁如果 server 真係好不幸咁樣係又再去即係不能夠運作嘅時候，我諗我自己會呼籲市民係用人潮逼爆票站咯。當用我哋嘅手去喺手機嗰度投票係未能夠投下一票嘅時候，咁我哋就用我哋嘅手腳並用出嚟投票。我覺得呢樣嘢係非常之重要。甚至當我哋見到白皮書嘅出現，係見到呢個白色恐怖瀰漫喺香港嘅時候，咁我會呼籲市民喺6月22號見到白色恐怖、白皮書嚟到香港，我哋就着黑衫，讓黑衣人潮對抗白皮書，係逼爆票站。唔該晒。